Hello everyone, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam.
And welcome to our review for Man of Steel. Now, Man of Steel obviously is about Superman.
What?
I know, crazy!
I was expecting Hawkman.
I know, right? Because he is the Man of Steel.
You just never know.
So we haven't seen a Superman movie since
the
one that we will not mention.
Yes, there we go. It is Voldemort's movie.
The one that shall not be named.
Bryan Singer's piece of trash. There we go.
Alright, so this Superman movie, it details a lot in just this one movie. It's got General Zod in it. We also kind of get flashbacks from, Superman's childhood, and we have the amazing scenes in the beginning of Superman's family and Krypton.
I take it she likes the parts with Krypton.
First off, we're gonna get into the characters. Now, we have, a lot of good names in this movie. We've got Henry Cavill, we've got Amy Adams, we've got
Michael Shannon.
Yes, and we have Russell Crowe. A lot of good actors going into this movie. I was pumped for it. I know you were pumped for it too.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, let's get into those characters. Let's start off with Henry Cavill playing Superman.
Honestly, I'm a big fan before from like Tudors and Immortals and stuff. So I already knew about him unlike most people going into this, and he's a good actor now. First off, let me just say, his American accent was really good.
Yes, it was.
Like, most of the time you hear British, and there's little parts here and there where you're just like, you goofed. But he did a really good, like, Midwestern kind of accent.
He really did.
He sounded like a Midwesterner. We know this, we are from the Midwest.
Yes.
I kind of feel bad for him, though, because to me it seemed like the character, like, he wasn't given enough. Like, he didn't speak for, like, the first half of the movie outside of, like, one or two lines. I kind of feel bad. There's almost not enough to go on for him.
Yeah, very true.
It is.
How about Russell Crowe playing Jor-El?
I think Russell Crowe was the perfect Jor-El. In fact, I think he was so good, they would have done better to have him have his own movie with Krypton being its own separate place, because that might have been the second best part of the movie, save the last fight, was the first 15, 20 minutes on Krypton with Jor-El and Zod.
Yes.
Because those two, somebody needs to put those two in a movie together, because they have really good chemistry.
Yeah, great chemistry. Really cool in the beginning.
Right.
So, Lois Lane, we have Amy Adams.
For me, I think her character was thrown in just for the sake of having her there. I think she was a complete waste of time. They could have done the entire thing without her even being in the movie. Yep. They literally had a few parts where they're like, you've got to do things, Amy Adams. You've got to do them, and we will force them upon you, even though we could easily write right around these things, just because we want to have Lois Lane. That's the way a lot of it felt to me. And, like, with her and Henry Cavill, like, their romance, it did not work. It did not work. Like, at the end of the movie, they kiss.
Yep.
And the whole time you're just like, okay. They should have saved it maybe for number 2.
All right. So for General Zod, the actor Michael Shannon did an amazing job as General Zod. I was excited.
Me too. In fact, I'm gonna go out and say right now, he was my favorite. He was so good. He did this great job of making him be the villain, but at the same time he wasn't the villain, because he was doing things for himself, and he did such a good job of portraying that kind of a character. Again, another person I was a fan of prior to this, with like Boardwalk Empire, and I'm glad that he's probably going to have a bit more recognition now from being Zod. He did an excellent job. He really did.
The way he portrayed the character makes you look in a whole different light, for me anyway, on General Zod. Because, like Adam was saying, people might think he's, like, evil and really, like, villainous, but he was really doing it for the good of the people.
Right.
His people. So, it put a whole different light on him.
Well, think about if you were in that kind of position where, like, alright, you're gonna have to kill off this whole planet of people, but that's the only way for your people to live on. That's kind of a hard dilemma. You're like, yeah, I don't want to kill people, but then it's like, either way, you lose.
So we also have another character who was seen throughout the movie quite a bit, which was Perry, the editor of the Daily Planet.
Perry White, played by Lawrence Fishburne. And I thought Amy Adams was an expendable character. he was literally in there just to waste your time. Like, he was there for a few lines with Lois, which, again, you could have taken her out, and that would have been it for him. They threw in this kind of big, like, 3-minute waste of time with him trying to save somebody out of a thing when it was unnecessary. Yeah. And I think they did it just to have him in it, but they should have just saved it for number 2.
They should have.
Like, there's nothing wrong with just saving some of those guys for the next one. Also, I want to mention Kevin Costner.
Oh, yes.
I think he did a really good job, but unfortunately they just didn't, like, he didn't get enough either. Like, because they focused a lot more on the Kryptonian version of Superman's origin than the human version.
Yes.
They really pushed out the Smallville, growing up kind of thing, and I kind of feel bad for him because he got such a pivotal role in who makes Superman the way he is and the way he sees things, and they really just kind of, you get a tiny bit, but it really didn't seem quite like it should have been. It wasn't enough.
They killed his character, like, not just literally,
he's
but
supposed to.
No. Not killing. I mean they butchered the character is what I really mean. Like Adam's saying, like, they should have done a little more with him, and he should have had more time. Which moves us into our next category of the writing and the directing, but with the story. They just put so much into one movie, and there are parts that could have been taken out. There are parts that could have been extended. I mean,
this was a long movie, too.
Yes.
Like, let me just say, I didn't enjoy this movie because this movie wasn't meant for me and the kind of things that I like. She liked it, but she didn't love it. So we're going to get that out of the way. We're not just blindly hating
Right, yeah, no.
I'm wearing a Superman shirt. She's wearing a Batman shirt. As far as all that goes, this is like a 2-hour and 20-minute kind of movie. And there were parts of it that feel really rushed. There are parts of it that didn't need to be there, like she'd mentioned. There's parts of it that, like, when they're starting off showing Clark, he's working on the fishing boat, and then he quits that job, and they have Lois say some kind of thing about how he's moving jobs around, but then somehow he's working at a military base in Canada. And it's like, how did he get into that? Like, he never went to the military. He never, like, how did he get part of the military chain of command for the U.S. in Canada? And I don't know, it just seems, there were parts of it where it was really shallow.
Yes. I was excited for this movie. I mean, when you get into it, when you first begins, it's like, bam, there's action right away. And that just, it got me pumped. I'm like, oh my gosh, this might actually be amazing.
Right, especially because the, like, battle that they have on Krypton, it feels like a Star Wars battle. Like, the sounds and the, like, the spaceships and the creatures, it feels like Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, here we go.
I know.
And they go through all that, and then it just slows down.
It really does.
I feel like with parts of the writing and the directing, like, they did a bad job. Like, there were parts of it, some of those cuts were really bad, where they're jumping, like, months ahead in time. Like we mentioned with the job thing, and there are some other instances like that. And there are parts where you just get kind of bored with the dialogue. Like, there wasn't a lot of care with the character interactions. Not like what you see with, like, a Joss Whedon type writer, where they focus the most on character interactions, and they feel like they should mesh. This doesn't have that. A lot of the characters just, they don't work. No, they really just, like you're saying, they really didn't take the time to figure out those characters and their lines, and it just seemed really dull and confusing, like jumping around from the jobs. I mean, the flashbacks were nice because it gave us, you know, how his childhood was, which I was wondering about when they just jumped to his adulthood. I was like, whoa, whoa, where's the childhood? But there were parts, like we said, the cutting was horrid. There was a part where it's emotional, completely emotional, and then they jumped to this funny part. Like, that was totally uncalled for. The Daily Planet in general could have just not even been Another thing that could have been gone is the whole, like, fighting sequence with the giant robot from, like, Krypton thing with the tentacles. That whole thing could have been gone, right? And he's, like, fighting and struggling with it, and then they're like, all right, time to end it. And he just, like, flies up there and it's done.
Also, Mass Effect fans are going to get this.
I couldn't take it seriously.
I couldn't either. We couldn't take that seriously. It looked like a Reaper. It looked like a
It
Reaper.
did.
It sounded like a Reaper.
Yeah, it had the, like, kind of almost dubstep kind of, and
had the beam.
it shot the beam out of the hand. And even, like, one of the songs even sounded like the first Mass Effect song. And it was just like, there's so much Mass Effect going on right now inside of Superman.
This would have been a great Mass Effect movie, maybe, but yes, it couldn't take it seriously. And
speaking of not taking it seriously, that scene with the tornado. Living in a place that has tornadoes, they know nothing about tornadoes.
No.
And it was very disturbing for me. Like, first off, why are there like 50 to 100 cars packed into, like, I don't know if that was like a highway or what.
like a highway, a country highway.
Like, that's not what happens in rural areas. That's not what it's like at all.
There are not that many cars.
And,
promise.
And when everyone's like hiding under the underpass and he's like standing there, and he's like, don't save me. And there's like this F5 type tornado like 20 feet behind him, not picking anything up and just blowing his hair around a little bit. I'm like, he should be dead already. Like, I was waiting for him to just fly into the air at any point.
And when you see a tornado, people, don't leave your dog in the car. Like, you've left that dog out when you're getting out of the car yourself.
Yeah.
Don't say, go back for the dog. You should have got it out the first time.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
They don't know what tornadoes do.
Obviously not.
Like I said, a lot of things that could have been cut out or done differently or not been in it at all. Whatever, right? As far as the style, though, the style of directing, this is a very Zack Snyder movie.
Yes,
the story and the characters are pushed down, and this is a visual masterpiece with amazing combat sequences where they're using camera angles, like flying behind his punch when he's going to hit somebody. And things like that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm putting Zack Snyder as a step above, like, Michael Bay, where he's an action guy, right? He's not going to do any great stories or anything like that, but he's better than Michael Bay at these things. He's worse at the comedy, but he's better at the other. And I think this movie could have used a little bit of comedy, because there was, like, one joke at the end and one in the very beginning and nothing to break anything up in between.
And those jokes shouldn't have even been, well, the last one shouldn't have been there. That last one should have been, like, it could have been placed, like,
any point.
Yeah.
What was your thought on the final fight with Zod? Because that's kind of a controversial thing.
It is a very controversial thing. Trying not to give you any spoilers. Zod fighting Superman. I'm just gonna put it out there. This is the emotional moment in
this fight and the way it concludes is the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Hands down for me. And apparently you as well. Hands down the best part, the most memorable part. It's the only thing that really makes me go like, maybe I want to watch this movie. Because the rest of it, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. Do I really want to sit through and watch it all from beginning to end again? I don't know if I ever want to do that again.
Well,
this is the one part that I want to see again. Because the camera angles that they use during the fight and the emotional parts, Michael Shannon's like speaking lines, like when he has the line right before they start fighting where he's talking about how, without spoiling stuff, how basically everything's gone bad or whatever, and the sound he gets in his voice when he does it, it's gripping. Like, that's the best thing in the entire movie, is right through this little sequence. And the way it ends, some people have a problem with it and they say it's against the character, but it's really not. It's, again, it's the most emotional part of the movie.
I will disagree with you.
Oh, well.
I liked the beginning.
I like the beginning. Oh, you like that more?
No, I like them equally.
Equally.
Pretty much, I'm just gonna, watch the beginning and then just go right to the end. No. But, yeah, I would say those two parts had the most impact for me, of being the most memorable in the movie. So
doing something we don't normally talk about, but we can do it for these kinds of movies, kind of the Easter eggs and those kinds of things. First off, the LexCorp stuff that was periodically spread throughout the movie. Do you think it's any kind of surprise that Lex Luthor's in this universe? And what do you think the chances of him being the villain for number 2 are? And how do you feel about that?
Obviously, Lex Luthor plays this huge part in the Superman world because he's, like, one of the number 1 enemies out there for Superman. It wouldn't be a surprise if he's the villain for number 2. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd feel okay about it. I'd really want them not to. I'd love it if they went on to someone else, but maybe if they do it like a trilogy, if it was a trilogy. My
initial thought was I don't want to see Lex as the villain, have him in the movie but not as the villain, but I've kind of been taken back on that because they can do stuff with Lex to give him a great fight scene. They can bring out his power suit thing. They can do things like that. Personally, I preferred Zod as a character more than I do Lex as the rich boy and all that. But there's a lot of cool things they can do if they do it well, and they do it like more of an intellectual movie than this one was. Not like the Joker, but in kind of the way that they did the Joker, where the Joker has no chance of beating the Batman in the Christopher Nolan movie. But he can beat him in other ways. If they can do it well in a similar fashion, not like the Joker, but in Lex's own version of that, I would enjoy that, because they have to have Lex. And if this is going to be a trilogy, I want Doomsday to be the last one. That's my most important thing, because Doomsday is the guy who kills Superman, and Superman like comes back to life to fight him. So that would be the one I would want to conclude Superman.
But it would also be nice to have like Bizarro in there or Black Adam, just kind of popping those ones in. Instead of Lex.
Well, who wouldn't want Black Adam? But you know they have to do Lex, and Doomsday's the one I want to end the trilogy, if it's going to be a trilogy. If it's going to be 4, then throw Black Adam in there. So there is a Wayne Corporation Enterprises thing on the satellite at some point in the movie. So what are your thoughts on Batman being with Superman? Cool.
It's first scene, I guess.
Yeah,
kind of.
When we all kind of know that the Justice League's coming. Personally, I was a little bit disappointed that they went with Batman to be the little cameo, superhero cameo, because we knew he was going to be in there 100%. We knew they weren't doing Justice League without Batman.
I would have preferred like maybe a Wonder Woman symbol, or maybe I wish they would do Aquaman, but we won't even get into that. I guess even Green Lantern, even though he's already, had a movie and stuff, but Wonder Woman would have been the cool thing to have.
I do too, because I for me at this point, it's like, yeah, Batman's cool to see again, I guess, but I want to see people I haven't seen have movies, or at least have it in this era of movies. And like you said, I think Wonder Woman would have been my first pick. Some kind of thing with Martian Manhunter in space, something with a lantern and a ring, not even Hal Jordan or anyone like that. Something. And another thing is the writer for this, Stephen Goyer, had mentioned Star Labs and Cyborg, and I didn't see anything, and you didn't see anything. No, I've looked a little bit online, like right after the movie, and I didn't see anything on it. I'm wondering if it got cut out. If so, there's something interesting for the special features on the DVD release, because there's going to be a Cyborg thing, and he fits perfectly into the wanting a superhero who has no recognition at all. Because that's kind of a big problem with DC and Warner Brothers. All they want to do is Superman and Batman. They had no interest in Justice League until they saw Avengers break like $1.5 billion. If this turns into just the Superman and Batman show, I'll be very disappointed with them, as she wears a Batman and I wear a Superman shirt.
But yes, I would agree with you. I'd be very disappointed too. I mean, come on, just give those other characters a chance. They've got fan bases. They've got people who read their comics. Come on.
So I think that's it for our video. Recommend it to people who like action stuff, not people who like in-depth stories and great characters.
And people who are a fan of Superman. Even if you're like strictly comic book, go see it. It's not that bad of a movie.
It really depends the kind of movies that you like. See you next time, guys. Bye.
See ya.